Hello, welcome to Bermuda. I'm George. I'm sitting on my boat here in St George's Harbour in Bermuda. It's slightly grey today, but I've got a fairly decent weather forecast and window to get away from here on my single-handed transatlantic across to the Azores. In my previous videos, you will have seen me preparing for and sailing up from St Martin to Bermuda. I've had a short stopover of a few days here to do a few repairs and some maintenance, and now it's the big one, 2,000 miles across to Horta. Hopefully all will go well. It's my longest trip single-handed, so I hope you'll enjoy coming along with me. So I've got all the sail covers off, most things are put away. I'm just making a bit of water, and then I thought, actually, I'm getting a bit low on snacks. I will make myself a nice tray of flapjacks. Some might say this is prevaricating before I leave, but I think it's justified because you need snacks when you're sailing, and these are, well, sort of healthy because they've got oats in them, but also a lot of butter and sugar. But they're great in the middle of the night if you just need a little sugar and energy boost. Well, that's it. I had to wait a short while for Bermuda Radio to give me permission to leave because a cruise ship was going out, but the anchor's up. I've got a mainsail up, and I am just about to go through Town Cut and out into the Atlantic. Just coming up to 8 o'clock on Monday night, and it's just getting a little bit dark out here. I think the sun will be setting soon, although the sun cannot be seen because it's very, very grey, misty and horrible. I've had some fairly heavy rain since I left, and I think I'm about to get hit by another big rain cloud that's catching us up from behind. So I've got 2 reefs in the main, part roll Genoa, anything from kind of 18 to 24 knots of breeze. It was forecast to have a little bit of breeze over night tonight, and then once that goes through, it's going to calm down a little bit more for the next few days. So it's just a case of holding tight, keeping the boat pointing in the right direction. It's 0900 on Wednesday the 18th, so I left yesterday afternoon. I had a very, very wet evening and overnight. The wind also veered, which to some extent I took care of by jibing at midnight, but then it veered some more, I think, around about 3 o'clock, and my wind direction alarm, change of wind alarm, didn't wake me up, unfortunately, and neither did my alarm clock, so I slept through it. So we went kind of the wrong way for a couple of hours. We went down at about 110 when I really wanted to be doing kind of 70, but never mind, these things happen. So the wind's now eased right off, and I was going a bit slowly, so as you can see, I've just popped the big kite up. It's a little bit on the tight side for it, but we're holding it at the moment and going in the right direction, so it's all going well. I'm a little bit further south than I ideally want to be, and there's a big patch of no wind that's going to catch up and overrun, so I am going to run out of wind at some point, and I'm not sure exactly how long that's going to be for, but the faster I can go in that direction, the longer I'll have wind, basically. So if I just sit there, the patch of no wind is going to catch me up sooner. So I'm pushing on all the time that I have breeze, and we'll see how this progresses. Well, it's been a pretty lovely afternoon. Spinnaker's been up the whole time. The sun has come out, so the batteries have been charging nicely. I've had a little bit of a snooze earlier and a nice bit of lunch. There's a boat over there about 6 miles away. I've had a quick chat with them on the VHF. They're slightly smaller than Liberta, so I've overtaken them under kite, but only very slowly. making great progress. I just need to decide really if I leave the kite up overnight or not. That's going to be the tricky one. Normally it wouldn't worry me. It just depends on what's going to happen to the wind and what the clouds look like. It's very, very tempting to leave it up because I'm making such good progress, but there's always that risk that something's going to catch me out overnight. So I will have a cup of tea and a lie down and then see what the weather looks like as it gets towards dinner time, and perhaps make a call then. The good news is the days are definitely getting longer as I've come north, and obviously it's northern hemisphere summertime. There's a lot less darkness and a lot more light, which is good. So even if I do take it down, I can take it down at sort of 8:30 just as it's getting dark, and it's starting to get light by 5:30, so I could always chuck it back up again then if the weather allows. Well, it's Thursday morning, and as you can see, someone switched off the wind. The wind actually switched off last night at about well, between kind of 6 and 9. It started dropping, and then by 10 the boat was doing 1.5 knots under Genoa and Main, and the sails were slapping around, so I decided to roll the Genoa up and put the motor on. So I'm motoring ahead slowly at about 1400 RPM, which gives me about 4 knots just to push through this wind hull. The wind hull was completely expected and forecast. I knew it was going to get me at some point. I've just gone hopefully far enough north to minimise the amount of time I spend in this wind hull. Then hopefully tonight I'll start picking up some breeze. There's a low to the north which is going to go across the top of me, and I should start picking up the breeze off of that. So I'll be back sailing with the wind after the beam for a few more days hopefully. So until then I just have to put up with the noise. The main's banging around, it's on the preventer, but I could drop it, but to some extent it's steadying the boat. Because of the swell I'd be rolling around all over the place without the main up, so I'm just kind of putting up with it at the moment for a few hours. It's the evening of Thursday the 19th. I have been motoring with the main up all day long. It's been a little bit boring, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's been very easy. So I've had a few little snoozes and I've eaten well, so it's not all bad. The good news is the wind is just starting to fill in. The sun is just starting to go down. If I turn you around, you'll see a sun low in the sky over there. So I did pull the Genoa out about half an hour ago. I don't know if you can see it, possibly not. It's behind the main. So Genoa's out, but when I nearly dropped it. When I dropped the engine revs off, we just went back to like 2.5 knots. So, but there's a couple more knots of breeze now. So I think pretty soon I'll be able to lose the engine and drift along, hopefully at 4.5 to 5 knots with the breeze that we've got here, which should slowly build through the night into Friday, and then I should be good for a few days. What has been quite impressive today is I've been obviously monitoring shipping that goes on around, and nothing's got particularly close, but behind me you can see on that kind of antenna tower up there, amongst other things, I've got my AIS antenna. Now some people have them at the top of the mast. I prefer to have a dedicated antenna rather than use a splitter and have it at the back of the boat. It's about 4 meters above the water, so that does reduce the range slightly that I get, but I'm seeing ships that are 75 miles away. I know the weather's maybe helping, or it's flat calm or whatever, but 75 miles for a big ship, I don't need to see any further than that. Yachts obviously not quite as far. You know, normally they have them on the masthead, often have them on the masthead, and I'm seeing them 10-15 miles away normally. But 75 miles I think is a record for what I've seen on my little AIS. Morning, it's Friday the 20th and all is well on the good ship Liberta. The engine went off about 8 o'clock last night once the wind got up enough that we could sail at a reasonable speed, so it got up to about 9 knots or so. Engine off, and it was nice to have peace and quiet overnight. The wind has slowly built during the night. It's now about 7 o'clock in the morning. We've got 13 knots of breeze from aft, starboard to quarter. So there's a reasonable chance the spinnaker's going to go up fairly soon. I'm going to probably download the weather forecast first, because we're still pushing along at nearly 6 knots, 6.5 actually at times. But the spinnaker will give us at least another knot. Now it's time for breakfast, once I get the bag. I was going to do that after breakfast, but truth is, I don't really like going in slower than I need to, and we've gone from doing sort of 5.5 knots to 6.5 to 7 now, so you know, it's worth a little bit of effort. And apart from a little bit of cloud behind, it's all clear skies and should be plain sailing. Well, I really am living the dream this morning. The spinnaker's up, the bread is buttered, the bacon is in the frying pan, the kettle is just about to boil, and the eggs are ready to go in the pan. I think we all know where this is going, with a bit of Tommy K on top. Absolute heaven. Having had a fairly long look at the weather and thinking about the options, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to go with the option which takes me south around that low. It should give me a nice slingshot. It does mean a bit of a detour, so what I've done is I've taken the position of that low at its most southerly point as it comes down and before it disappears, and I've set a waypoint in GPS. It's about 450 miles from here, and I've brought the boat round to a course which brings me down to roughly the position of that low. Now it might be I need to go further south than that, or it might be that I don't need to go as far south as that. It just depends what happens over the coming days. I'm just going to have to monitor that low. I just don't fancy carrying on up over the top of it, because beating into, I mean, it's showing 30 to 35 knots, but that could easily be gusted up to and close to 40, or if the low deepens it could be more than that. So I'm going to stay south of it. It seems like the sensible option and the safest option and the most comfortable option. So it just means a bit of a detour. It's a shame that I've lost a bit of time slowly heading north to get into the wind, but maybe it's not lost time, because if I hadn't have headed north I wouldn't have this wind that I'm in now. I'll be still sitting in a hole. So it's just a bit of a game that you play with the weather. Just try and play chess and stay in the breeze whilst not getting into too much breeze, and ideally not beating, unless you particularly like beating, that is. But anyway, coming round onto the wind's not done me any, not caused any problems. I'm now doing about 8 knots with the kite up, so I'm flying along now beautifully, 15 knots of breeze, and it's all going swimmingly. It's Friday evening. I've just had my dinner, a bit of lasagna with some veg, and the sun is going to be going down in the not too distant. I've still got the kite up, but I have decided that before it gets completely dark, I will drop that down and go back to white sails. It's reasonably breezy at times, sort of at the top end of what I want to do with this kite, really. So about 18 knots true wind, so when it gets up to 18 to 20, I'm really at the maximum for this lightweight kite. So that's going to come down in the next hour or so, back to white sails. I'll just keep going with white sails through the night and see what tomorrow morning brings. I'm expecting to put the kite back up, one of them, tomorrow, and keep pushing down to the slightly south of east course that I'm doing, and we'll see what the forecast in the morning brings. Morning, it's Saturday the 21st today. It is my 5th day at sea. Well, technically it's my 4th morning because I left at lunchtime. It's my 5th, something like that. Coming up, it will be my 5th day at lunchtime when I left. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I had trouble sleeping with the boat movement and what have you. But I woke up this morning and I've got a little friend with me. If you look over my shoulder there, I've got a little bird of some sort. I think he's tired and having a snooze, and he's also been trying to drink the drips of water off the stainless frame back there, so I might see if I can get one of Abigail's stick-on plate things or bowls and put some water in it for him, because he's probably thirsty. I've no idea what to feed a bird, so I won't feed him anything unless I give him oats or something. I don't know what else I would give him that I'd have. Anyway, I put the kite up this morning. It absolutely poured with rain about 5 this morning, which kind of woke me up, and there's a wind shift then under the cloud as well. The wind's clocked around a little bit more, so I've now got the kite up with the pole on the port side. If I spin you around, see, I have the pink kite on up there. I went for the slightly smaller one just because I didn't like the look of some of the clouds that are around. It's still very black over there ahead of me. I'm hoping that they will continue to go away. There's a bit of cloud behind me, but nothing too ominous, so I think I'm just going to keep an eye on it. Anyway, we're rolling along. It's about 300 miles to my waypoint, and the waypoint is where I think the centre of the low is going to get to, according to ECMWF yesterday. So my next job today is to download the weather, have a quick look at my emails, and then decide if I need to move that waypoint up, down, left or right. So cup of tea possibly first. Now the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. After I got the weather download, I had a quick look at that and a few emails I've received about some of the other models which I'm not downloading, and the short version is the low isn't going to be quite as far south as I had thought yesterday, or as the forecast had suggested yesterday. And so I ended up having to drop the kite and bring my course a bit more up to due east, which meant it was too tight for the spinnaker. So the kite came back down, and I've been sailing under white sails since. I have, which is quite nice, started using the wind pilot again, which is the thing you can see back there, rather than using the electric pilot, saves my batteries quite a bit, especially as the sun's shining, so the batteries are getting nicely filled up now with some free nuclear power courtesy of the sun. As you can see, my little mate is back there, over there. I've tried to give him some water, I've thrown some little bits of bread at him. I'm not sure how much of the bread he's had. I think he had a little bit of the water. So he's just kind of resting on the boat at the moment. No signs of leaving. It's fine by me. He's leaving me a few little presents at the back there, but they'll soon scrub off, I'm sure, or the next rain will take care of them. Still haven't got a name for him. I was thinking about Bertie the bird, Peter the pigeon. Still thinking about that one. I'll ask him, see what he wants. It's Sunday the 22nd, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning. I've just done my morning routine of emails, downloading the weather, checking what's going on. I've just been tweaking the boat to bring it back up onto more of an easterly course, which is going to bring me just through the bottom end of the centre of the depression that's up ahead of me, but there's no really strong winds in it. It's going to be maybe topping out at 28 knots in the gust, 30 knots in the gust, but mostly it's going to be late teens and early 20s, so all quite manageable. The sun is shining, there's a nice breeze today. I've got about 17 knots apparent over the deck at the moment. Wind pilot's doing a good job at the back there. I've just been spending a bit of time tweaking that to get it onto the right course. They do like the boat to be reasonably well balanced. It's a servo pendulum system, so it's reasonably powerful if you're slightly unbalanced, but I think there's a little bit of friction still in the system on mine. I need to have a bit more time playing with it when I get back to the UK, just to fettle it a bit more, but all is well on the boat. It was a pretty quiet night. I did an awful lot of sleeping, which was rather nice, so I went to bed at about 9 o'clock and started my overnight routine then, and I didn't stop until about 8 o'clock this morning, so I did an awful lot of 45-minute naps last night, so I'm feeling the benefit of that. I was pretty exhausted. Sea state is pretty good. I'd say the swells are around 1.5 metres or so, with a fairly long period in between them, so the boat's fairly comfortable to move around on. I've had a little bit of contact via email with my French friends who left at the same time as me. I think they're about 90 miles behind me and slightly to the north, but they're taking the same route as me. They're going south around this depression, which makes sense. You're going to get much more favourable winds that way than going over the top. The boat's currently set up with double reef main and double reef Genoa at the moment. I could probably go for single reef on the Genoa and a bit more main, but to be fair, we're doing, you know, over 6 knots. There's Robin, the wind pilot. She's called Robin with a Y because it was my mate Robin without a Y that made up all the new bearings and bits and pieces. He's a friend of mine who's a machinist, and I took it all into his workshop and disassembled it, and with his help got all new plastic bits and put it back together again. So so I decided to name my wind pilot after him, although I think wind pilots should be ladies, so he's Robin with a Y, not Robin with an I. Nice sunny day as well today, so I'm sucking off all that free nuclear power again from the sun. Wind generator up there as well, silent wind, doing its job nicely because we're slightly on the wind now. I monitor my battery bank using a Victron battery monitor, which is quite nice. I don't have to go to the chart table, I can connect to it via Bluetooth using the app, and so I do keep a pretty close eye on what's happening with my batteries, particularly if I'm using the electric pilot, which I have been using overnight, even if I've been using the wind pilot during the day. When the wind goes light, there isn't quite enough apparent sometimes for the wind pilot to keep me exactly on course, and rather than meandering around, I just find it easier to use the electric pilot. But it uses juice, so if I can use the wind pilot, I will, and it's doing a cracking job at the moment. Just coming up to the end of the day on Sunday. It's been mostly a lovely sunny day today. You can see the sun is starting to go down back there. The wind has been slowly increasing as well, as it was forecast to do so. It hasn't backed as much as I thought it would, but I suspect that will happen during the night. Hopefully it'll be a quietish night. Had up to about 20-21 knots of breeze. I've got 2 reefs in the main, 2 reefs in the Genoa. The boat's handling quite nicely in the wind. The sea has definitely built up. The swell is much bigger, so we're rolling around on those quite a bit, and quite often you have to reef the boat down, not for the wind conditions but for the sea conditions, just to keep the boat on its feet and comfortable, and not smashing itself too much into the waves that are rolling by. Anyway, I think that's enough from me for today, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Morning, it's Monday morning in fact, and if I'm being completely honest, it hasn't been a particularly pleasant 12 hours. I checked the weather forecast before going to bed, and it was showing some fairly big gusts overnight, so I put the 3rd reef in the main before it got dark, and I was quite pleased I did. So we had over 30 knots at times last night, and big seas, about 3.5+ metre seas according to the wave forecast, and I don't disagree. There were some big waves, so it was a bit like being in a washing machine in here. Things flying around a little bit made it very hard work to get around and up and down. I didn't get a tremendous amount of sleep just because I was up and down as things were moving around, banging around, going upstairs, checking on things. So I'm feeling pretty tired, so I'm going to go and have another sleep now. The wind has moderated, which is good, although not possibly just at the moment. You might be able to hear things vibrating around. There's just a rain cloud going over, which is why I'm down here and not up there doing this video. It's quite unpleasant. So the wind has moderated, though. It's generally down to kind of early 20s, and it is due to drop off as the day goes on, as I sail effectively right through the middle of this depression. So it might be a period, according to the forecast, of 4 to 6 hours when I have virtually no wind as I go through right through the centre of the depression, in which case I'll motor and then I'll pick up the wind on the other side. The Navtex, which includes a barometer, kept beeping at me last night. I almost switched the blimmin' thing off because the pressure was dropping so fast. So it has a little warning alarm as the pressure drops. So it plummeted as I went into the low, as you would expect. Anyway, all is fine. One of the solar panels appears to have come adrift, but I think I can just clip that back on without too much effort, but maybe not in the pouring rain. All the bits are still there, and the boat is otherwise okay. I'm just feeling a bit tired. So it's sleep time for me, and hopefully by the time I wake up this rain cloud will have gone and I can go and reattach the solar panel, and possibly the sun will come out and recharge the bats if I'm lucky. It's later on Monday, and as you can see, no Genoa. The engine is on, it has been for an hour or two. We've just got to motor across this patch of dead wind. We're right in the middle of the depression now, so there's nothing for it but to stick the motor on slowly ahead and try and make the most of it. It's still a little bit rolly, there's a bit of leftover swell unfortunately, so I'm having to hold on, but it's dinner time, so dinner's in the oven, and I need to try and find some vegetables of the tinned variety, because I've just pulled out what was left of the veg that I bought in Bermuda, and it was all a bit soft and squidgy, so that's gone over the side. So in an effort to stay moderately healthy, I'll see if I can find some tinned veg to go with my lasagna. Morning, it's Tuesday the 24th, it's about 10 o'clock, and as you can hear, the engine is off. I'm back sailing. Engine went off about 0800 as the wind kicked in just enough to get us going. I've now got about 12 knots, although over the last couple of hours I've also had rain, sunshine, wind shift, but it now seems to have settled down, and up ahead it's nice and bright and sunny. So despite the clouds that you can possibly see behind. If I just go up a little bit, that's what I've been through. It's looking okay ahead, so fingers crossed things have now settled down. I'm not quite on course, but I'm going slightly north of my ideal course, but that's just the wind for you. As I head this way, the winds should veer, so it should come around and allow me to ease off on the sails slightly and maybe go a little bit faster. Although I'm doing okay at the moment. I'm doing kind of 6 knots, so it's not too bad. Full Genoa, 1 reef in the main. As I am very nearly halfway, this is my 7th day at sea. It will be 7 days at lunchtime today, so I'm going to call this the end of episode 1. I have 936 miles to go to Horta, and I've sailed about 900 miles in the last 7 days. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If it hasn't been too dry for you, please do stay tuned. My next video will be the second half of this voyage to Horta. Who knows what will happen over the next 7-8 days. Could be longer, could be shorter, I just don't know. But I'm hoping for another 7 days if possible. If you've enjoyed it, please press like, and that allows other people to find this video. If you're not subscribed, please press the subscribe button, then you'll get a notification when videos are posted on my channel. Thanks again for watching, and see you on the next one.